right, I think I should be live. Hi guys, what's going on? It's been a while. How is everybody? Let me know how the audio is, please, if you can hear me clearly. If you need me to turn up the volume, you should be able to hear me out of both ears today. And hopefully everything goes smoothly. I'm super excited to have my friend and fellow vocal coach and singer on, Toni. Toni's from Germany, and sings a lot of rock, heavy metal stuff, other things too. He's actually a very versatile singer. Um, so he's a good guy. I'm super excited for him to be on and to share his experience with us and his knowledge about vocal effects. Um, he's, I think, a lot better at them, and a lot more proficient at them than I am. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked to have him here to help you guys out and to help me out. Actually, psych. Y'all thought you were getting a free lesson. Turns out I'm about to rob a free lesson from Toni, and he didn't even know. All right. So I think what we'll do is I will be we'll talk about some stuff about the different vocal effects. We'll talk about them a little bit. We'll answer your questions, a little Q&A, and he and I will maybe demonstrate the vocal effects and talk about the differences between them. Okay, I'll turn up the gain. All right, I turned up the gain a bit. Let me know how this is. I just don't want it to be too loud for when I start screaming into the mic, but there we go. It is up a bit. No cabs to be had out there. I wish I knew how. Hello, everybody. Cool. Hey, Vlad. Good to see you there. Ethan, what's up? David. Okay. Hello. I'm well. I'm well. I'm tired. I started a new job and working nights so that I can continue to teach during the day, just so that we can save up and make some extra money right now, and transition to full time travel. Um, so we're making a big lifestyle change. So, yeah. All right, cool. Looks like everything's working. So um, I'm gonna have Toni come on. There we go. Okay, should be using the same mic. And if I put my little up in the corner, right there. I just can't see Toni yet. Toni! You said, hey, Harold Hill? Who is that? Oh, hey. Awesome. Okay. So let me turn you on onto the stream. Are you ready to go? Okay. Um how do I do this? Yay. There we go. All right. Now let me make that look nicer. How do I get rid of myself? Cuz I'm up in that corner. I don't like that. Um let's see. No, that's not right. How do I get rid of me? What if... No, if I turn my video off, that would be weird. Then you'll be talking to nothing. Follow host's video order? What's that? Pin. Hmm. I guess that's as good as it gets. If anybody knows how I make that look a little bit better, um, let me know. So I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Right, I have that. I have that. Yeah, that's what's showing on the stream. But you know how it says, if you look on the stream, it's got like the whole. Oh, there we go. When I click off, it's gone. Okay, that's better. But how do I get rid of the upper little me on top? I don't want two me's. Oh well. I guess it's fine. Um, I liked Skype better for this because Skype didn't do this. Okay. All right, guys. Let me know. Can you guys hear Tony's voice? Okay. Oh, somebody said I'm too quiet. Is my voice too quiet, guys? Can you not hear me clearly? And can you hear Tony? I was just working. What was I? Who was I working on that with? One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, isn't that it's like the most classic like in college or when you do a show or something like warm up. Oh yes, yeah, that one's hard. Yep. Every night in when I was doing hair last year, we would warm up with that, and we would just go so fast. It was like, I mean, it was ridiculously fast that nobody could keep up. And by the end, it was like, what is it? What is it? It was always just a fun little joke. Oh no. Only. Oh, they are not able to hear you. Okay, fuck. I can hear you. So I'm able to hear you because I'm hearing you through Zoom. My thing is, why would Zoom not share the audio as well? Okay. I'm gonna, well, we can keep our call, but I'm just gonna block you out right there. And let me just Google that real quick. See, this is what I hate about the live streams. Is that I suck at the technology. This happens every time. Okay. How to, um, how to, beautiful, what's your hurry? Maybe just a half a drink more. If anybody knows, also in the out there watching, how do I how do I do that? Can't hear him at all. I'm gonna work on hearing it. Welcome everybody that's coming. Um, yeah, if you guys know how I can make him, hey Thomas, if you guys know how I can make it work, let me know because I gotta Google it. Okay. I know Skype worked before. Do you have Skype, Tony? All right. Because I know that one worked before, so I think it'll just work right away. In on Facebook or where? I'll hold your hand. Mind if I'm moving closer? Okay. Let's see. Let's see. By the way, guys, if you have questions about vocal effects, particularly rough vocal effects like distortion or anything like that, start thinking of your questions now and write them out in the chat, and we will look at them. Okay, I found you. All right, I'm gonna end the Zoom call then. Hey, can you see me and hear me? Okay, cool. Let's Okay, let me see if I can fix that. There we go. You should be able to see it. Yes. I can see you. Can you see me now? How about all right. Okay, so now let me see if I can um fix this. Let's see. What is your current setup? You think you're going deaf or the sound is too low? Is the sound too low, guys? D um Yeah, can you not hear me clearly? Because I've already turned up the gain. It looks good on my end, so tell me if it's too low. And where am I going? OBS. Okay. Window capture. Okay. Skype. Let's see. Skype. There we go. Okay. So I do okay there, and all right, that's looking good. Let's go back to Skype. All right, can you speak, Tony? Say some stuff. Okay, guys, can you hear Tony? Because he's speaking. Please, please, please work. Okay. No, fuck. Is that a thing? I don't. Let's see. If I. I don't. Let's see. Thumbnail, people, and blogs schedule. I thought today was gonna be different because normally every stream, Tony, I struggle with this, and then I'm like here for half an hour, like messing with the mic or something. Last time I couldn't figure out how to get my audio coming out of both ears, but now it's this. And the bad part is I've had this figured out before and had it working, and now it's not working. I have no idea how to invite somebody onto the stream. How do I do that? I don't see any kind of setting for that anywhere. Share. No, I can share the stream, but that's create a highlight video. Nope. Nope. What if I go back to manage? That's probably not. No, it's not right. Okay. Let's look at the advice I got. I have my I'm doing it through OBS. I need an audio output solver like Soundflower on Mac. I do have Soundflower, but I have to use Soundflower to get him to come through. Man, this is a mess. I just have the on OBS. I have through the window share, and then I just selected Skype. Skype item 0. No, that doesn't work. Skype. No. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. How do I set up the sound share one? Let's see. Add. Can I add it as like a media source? And then Skype would pop up? Because that would be cool. Let's see. Media source. No. Do 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 do. Okay. Skype live chat. No. All right, guys. I'm gonna end the stream, and then I'm gonna restart the stream once I figure this out. It's only for the visuals. For audio, you have to reroute the Skype output to an OBS input. So if I go into Skype, and then I go into settings, audio and video. So my microphone. I see. So I would do it here. So I put. Oh, that's not right. Be here. Probably an aggregate device. All right, I won't be able to hear you for a second, Tony, because I'm playing with something. So. And then on here. No, that's not right. Display, capture, check media source, video capture device. Well, I'll try that one. Okay. And then what if I make this SoundCloud? Okay, can you say some stuff, Tony?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I think it's actually working. I think. Wait. Yeah, I think they could hear you, but now I can't hear you. But this is progress. Okay, guys, let me know if you can hear Tony. As I do see him.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Wait a second.
Ooh.
Yay, they can hear Toni. Okay, I just can't
Yes.
hear Toni. Okay, so solved one problem, made another. Love it. Okay. Toni is really loud. Okay, I can turn Toni down.
Okay.
Um,
Theoretically, I can do that too. Is it better
might
now?
not be your mic, but it may be just my settings on OBS, I guess. Okay, let's see.
Well, I've turned down the gain of my mic now, so
Oh yeah.
it should
You're
probably
super
be
up there.
quieter.
Okay, sing something loud, Toni.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now just talk.
But shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more
I think
lovely
that's
and more
good.
temperate.
I'm way too quiet. I'm way too quiet. What do you guys mean? I'm not
A
a
mosquito
quiet person.
voice.
All right, I've turned myself up. Check Soundflower and your output so they go at the same time.
As Greg cannot hear me,
I can't check more than one
second
device
best
on my Mac though. Like on Skype, I've checked the Soundflower and then the 64 channel one. That's why I'm not able to hear Toni, because it's not coming out on my thing. Let me go to my sound. Alright, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. So what if my output... Okay, can I hear you now, Toni? Say stuff.
Wow, 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 wow,
That doesn't seem to work.
No.
Why would that not work? Oh man. Do you see they're calling me a boomer?
Well,
MIDI devices. Okay. Okay, Are you making sound, Toni?
wow,
No,
wow,
I still can't hear.
wow,
I'm in MIDI devices, and then I'm going to Soundflower CH, and it's not working.
I have to say,
Yeah,
for
I'm on
being
the
a
audio
boomer,
MIDI
Greg
setup
looks pretty
in there, and then I click on the Soundflower. No, there's no...
He keeps interrupting me.
No.
Pretty boomer of him.
There is no way.
Yes,
in here
there is
under
a way.
the 64. And the problem is, too, under my speakers... Oh, I could make an aggregate device. I see what I could do here. Okay. I see. So a multi-output device. That makes sense. So if I put those ones together right there, and then I select... Okay. Say stuff, Toni. Fuck. Now I can't hear you still. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, say stuff. No, yeah, you're still making noise. And I'm not hearing you. Multi-output device. Are you guys still hearing Toni? Because I'm not hearing Toni. Yeah, I'm under my multi-output device. And then I've got Scarlet. I've got my headphone one plugged in for my audio output for me to hear. And then I've got... God, okay, that just crashed. still? Make sure it's 2-channel. Oh, I was on 64-channel. Well, I'm on that one. And Skype is on the multi-output device. We're both on the same thing. And I'm not hearing Toni at all. And drift the correction. The drift correction. I think I had that on. Yeah, there's drift correction. And the main output on OBS is set to Soundflower. Okay. Alright. Alright, can you guys still hear Toni? Toni, say something?
They can't.
Yep, they can
They
hear
say
you.
they,
Okay.
they can. Can they?
That's set to... Oh, wait a minute.
They can.
I'm only able to pick Soundflower. I'm not able on OBS to set the audio for Toni for the multi-output device, which is interesting. Okay, what if I go into my main settings and then go audio?
Oh, someone can hear me. Hi, Music Productions.
Dum bum bum. Boo doo 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 doo. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, OBS, I've just added an audio, what's it called? An audio input capture. And under that one, all the options, as I try to select it, tell me are, all it tells me are, I'm gonna hide you, Toni, so that you can do things. Wait, it's not hiding you, that's just muting you. No, that's not right. Oh yeah, there you go. You disappeared. Yeah, you can just hide yourself, Toni. Okay. Yeah, I can only select Soundflower 2H or Soundflower 24HD. I can't and my default. Whatever the heck default is. Okay, wait, Toni, come back. Maybe it works on default now that I messed with the other settings. Just say something.
Hello, 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 hello.
No, they can hear you. I can't hear you. Fuck.
I can still say bad stuff about Greg if he cannot hear me. And only you can. Greg is a boomer.
I'm gonna try. What should I try? Yeah, your audio is coming through for them just fine. Why can't I hear you?
Because my voice is just too quiet.
Yeah, no, you guys have been able to hear Toni. The problem is I can't hear Toni now. Do you hear what I hear? No, you don't. Because you guys hear Toni. You just gotta link it to your headphones? Okay, how do I link it to my headphones?
Link
I'm
it to
trying,
you.
I'm looking on the
Link it to
audio input capture in
you.
multi-output. Listen, it is. It's linked to my Scarlett 2i4 and my MIDI setup. Oh wait, now I hear you. I did that before, and now I just
Can
unclicked
you hear
it
me?
and clicked it again. Yes, finally. Yay.
Wow. Can they still hear me? That's the question.
Okay, yeah, I think they can.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, finally.
I can hear you, but I won't. Okay.
Oh my lord. Okay, can you guys still hear Toni? Because I can hear Toni. I can hear the Toni. I love it. Yay, okay, all right. And so if my audio's good, we're going to get started. If you guys have questions, drop them below because I don't want to scroll up. So,
I've actually read 2 questions already,
okay.
and both are concerning growl, I guess. So I think that's gonna be a topic,
Yeah,
probably.
do you want to Toni, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself to them a little bit? I'm going to go heat up my coffee for a
Yes.
second. And I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm Toni. I live in Germany. Uh, I'm 22 years old, and I've been making music and singing, and sometimes both at the same time. Um, I'm interested in many different styles of music. I mostly come from kind of this rock music direction. I also listen to lots of more heavy stuff, metal, punk. Currently studying jazz and popular singing styles in Leipzig, Germany. Um, and yeah, I also teach rock, metal, jazz, pop singing with kind of this special focus on vocal effects, such as distortion, growl, creaking, you name it. And Greg has heated up his coffee.
Yes, he has. Okay. All right, guys. So, um, cool. Thanks for introducing yourself. Yeah, we've known each other for how long?
A year, a
A
bit more
year.
than a year.
Yeah, it's been a while, and we met through the Vocalist Chat Hub, right? Or do we meet?
Yes.
Did we meet through Solomon in the moth pit?
Uh, well, that's a bigger question, I guess.
Well, how did you find
Uh,
us? That's what I want to know. How did you find? Like, yeah, how did we?
do you want the short story or the long story?
Wait, I don't want to. I don't want to put it on YouTube. So,
Yeah, it's not about Salman.
oh, okay.
Um, Now, basically, I was searching for online communities to talk about singing and especially screaming
Mm.
with other people, and I found a really bad thing, and I won't say the name of it, but I was really disappointed in a certain program that I spent money on, and then I was kind of like so angry about it. I was like, there has to be something good out there. There has to be a positive space where singers can give each other feedback and actually sing and not just talk. And I actually found the Vocalist Chat Up. And I guess I would never have searched for it if I hadn't had that negative experience before that. So, yeah, wasn't all that long, the story. Well, now I cannot hear you.
Oh, whoops. That's because I accidentally
Yeah,
turned myself off.
now I can again. Yeah.
We're back. Hold on. I gotta adjust this little Skype bubble right here. There we go. In the corner. It's looking good. Stretch you, grow you a little bit. There we go. Okay. Um. Cool. So, yeah, somebody had some questions about the growl. I guess we'll get started with that. We, just so everybody knows, we like to use complete vocal technique, Tony and I, to talk about vocal effects, and that's because they've done some really cool research on the vocal effects, um, and they've subdivided them, like the different things that you can do in the different sounds. So a lot of times you'll hear when you just look up like what's this sound that this singer is making, and or you look up like how do I do a growl, right? So people will use the word growl and then have a bunch of different words for growl. So we like complete vocal technique because they've researched and said growl is this, so it kind of, and distortion is this, right? And they don't necessarily have a monopoly on the words, but it's helpful as singers when we can just say this word means this. And for vocal effects, it makes it really, really clear, and it makes it easier for you to progress instead of like just arguing over like, well, what does this mean? Or do growl? No, a fry scream sounds like this. It's like, let's talk about what structures you have in your voice that can produce what sounds, and let's go based off of that. So we both like to use that. So growl in complete vocal technique is when the arytenoid cartilages in your throat are vibrating against the epiglottis. And I just want to make sure that you guys are on the same page about what sound that is before we talk about it. But it's this sound. Ah! Ah! So that would be growl. So whoever said that, if that sounds like the one you're talking about, or like the Louis Armstrong, I see trees of green, red roses too. That's like a more soft growl.
Yeah, could also be the case that the death growl, which
Yeah.
CVT will call grunt, but you have now seconds time to comment which one you mean. We can actually go over both, but yeah, they're slightly different. Well, should I talk a bit about blues growl?
Well, you know what? I think maybe we should just talk through a little bit about the vocal effects and about how different ones are made, so we can just kind of generally go over them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did growl. Your turn. Tag.
I'm gonna do growl too, so people can hear how it sounds in another voice.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of a soft thing, and it sounds pretty cartoonish out of context. But I guess so do all vocal effects. If you don't have this kind of Kermit voice, but you still have a similar feeling in the throat, you might get the vocal effect CVT calls rattle. Greg, do you want to demonstrate a rattle? I know you're really good at it. You're much better than I can demonstrate it right now.
I love to demonstrate my rattle!
Yeah! It's really hard doing that in Mechanism 1 for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna just give a little gospel squall-ish demo in falsetto.
Yeah, so I think that's, but they sound different. Rattle particularly sounds different in different parts of the voice, and that can be confusing. And rattle is when the arytenoid cartilages are vibrating against each other. So growl, they're going against the epiglottis. Like if your chest were your epiglottis, which is a sort of structure in your throat that's attached to your tongue, the arytenoids are going, and in rattle, they're hitting each other. So that's why growl maybe feels a bit tonguey, and why Tony was saying like the nodal helps, because if you put your tongue in that position, you're actually pushing the epiglottis back, and you're getting it close to where those arytenoid cartilages are, so that they can touch each other. That's why I call, I don't know. That's why like you just got to put some tongue in it. That's why I think of like growl is rattle with some tongue. So,
it's basically that.
Yeah.
I mean, as a concept, if we want a slightly harsher sound than rattle, we might actually get what you could call false fault distortion. CVT just calls it distortion, and it's basically a more constricted version of it. The tissue switch from arytenoid cartilages to false fault distortion, but sensation-wise, it can be pretty much two ends of a spectrum. Hey, hey, that would be a rattle, and hey, if I have a bit more of that constriction, it might jump to more of a false fault distortion. Yeah, ooh yeah, and if you do it very lowly, if that's not a word, if you do it at a very low range, you can get throat singing from it.
Mm-hmm.
Agara style.
Yeah, I want to actually throw up a picture onto the stream of the vocal tract and the structures so that people can be like, you know, because I remember when I was trying to learn vocal effects too, I was like, very confused when people would say like false vocal folds. I'm like, what the heck are the false vocal? You can't really understand these things and the names, and when you don't know what the structures look like. Oh yeah, that's this part touching. It's like it's just another word to you, and you're gonna lose it. Of course, you can make the sound. You know, I'm not trying to say that you have to understand what it looks like. I'm just saying it's helpful to remember the names as you're learning, because then you can kind of keep everything straight.
I think especially in teaching that is important, because I know many people who can do vocal effects very well, much better than I can do any of these, but they don't know what the glottis is. And I mean, you don't have to be able to know all these terms to be able to know maybe that, but you don't have to, you know, be a total vocal nerd. But in the moment where you want to teach, it makes a difference whether you know what exactly the false faults are, and you know what might be the differences between them, because each vocal effect has its specific advantages and disadvantages, and strengths, and also risks, and it helps to know the limits and you know, the strategies for each.
I agree. Okay, so I'm gonna pop up some stuff here so that people can see. So I think I'm just gonna shrink you a little bit, and let's see, put a image. That shouldn't be too hard after I've gone through all of this struggle. Vocal tract. Okay, let me put that up there.
We need a larynx emoji, so we could just put it into the live chat.
A larynx emoji? Oh,
we would totally need that.
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay. I'm going to put that there so that they can see that one. And then I'm going to put another one. So what you guys are looking at there, now that you can see it on the screen, is a top-down view. So if you stick a camera through your nose, and it's going to go down past your tongue, and then it's going to kind of travel through here, and it's going to sit right there, and then you're going to be looking at those are your vocal folds, dead center on the thing. And then those are the structures surrounding it that we're talking about that produce the noise of the vocal effects. So, okay, let me put one more. Yeah, there we go. I like that. So we get this nice balance here of two different things. Okay. All right, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them around. There we go. I'm going to move this one right here. All right, guys, so I hope you can see that in some kind of detail there. Let me know if you can't see it on the screen. But yeah, so when we've got what we were talking about initially was growl, right? And we're talking about the epiglottis touching the arytenoid cartilages. So you can see from the labeling right there on the screen, the arytenoid cartilages are these little bulbousy thingies right here at the top. And when those two things touch each other, we get rattle. Ah, 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 or so then we've got growl, and that's the epiglottis. That's this thing right here. You can see it's labeled. It's kind of like a kind of like this. It's kind of like dippy in shape. When you're looking at it from a different angle, it kind of looks like a leaf. So that thing pushes back. So here's your arytenoid cartilages. Let's say back this way, and then your epiglottis is closer forward until your epiglottis and your arytenoid cartilages touch, and then they are touching each other, and then you get ah, growl, growl, ah, growl, growl, growl. So then we've got.
Funny thing is, that this even works without the voice. So if you want just that vibration on its own, it would sound like this. I hope you can hear that.
It was so
this
hot.
is like the pure growl.
Okay, let me try. Yeah, what do you think? Did I do it?
Bless you.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it did.
It's way less rolly when you do it without the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the rolliness is kind of what sensation we get when we actually have like a regular subharmonic going on. Not to get too geeky here, but basically when we have very consistent growl sound and basically any consistent vocal effect, we do have two tones. We do have our voice, and then something underneath. And that vibrates in a part of the frequency of our voice. It's not super random, but it's actually an interval of the kind of inversed harmonic series, the undertone series. And well, basically in our body we feel that as a nice rolly massage. Yeah,
I think it's important to think of any effect you're making with your voice as your voice and then the thing that you're doing. Like, so layers, right? Like you're doing more than one thing at a time, or you're making more than one sound at once. So you've got your voice and then you add something to it, basically. Or you could just do the effect itself. But when we're actually talking about, most applications for singing, we're not just and trying to just make the sound, we're actually trying to put, sing with it. So that usually involves our voice. Okay, so when we were talking about false fold distortion, what CVT just calls distortion, or vestibular fold distortion, that's these things right here. You can see them. I hope you guys can see my little mouse. I can't make it bigger. But right on the sides of the vocal folds, it's even labeled false folds. You can see these little flappies. They look like they're just kind of on the side of the folds from this view, but they actually are above the vocal folds. So they're kind of like your vocal folds, the false folds. And when those things come together and you get them close enough where they start touching, and you do that in a consistent way, you get a very consistent sounding distortion. So you can hear it's almost like another note is getting produced in my voice, like Toni was saying before. So if you were to look at that slowed down, you would see them just kind of clapping each other, just like the vocal folds do, and touching. And you can see from the other one right here, we've got the same thing. We've got your vocal folds, and then you can see in this vocal tract one on the left-hand side, right above it are the false vocal folds, and they're above there, and they close in and touch. And you can see the epiglottis. That's way up here. See how it's at the base of the tongue? That's why when you go, and you nodal, it pushes this back all the way down here to where the arytenoid cartilages are, way back here. So, so that's how that works. Okay. So, what else is there to talk about? Creaking. We can talk about creaking.
Creaking is pretty interesting because that's one of the only effects where we don't need another set of tissues, but it's actually produced by only the true vocal folds. And I guess the easiest way to get creaking, some people would call it fry, added to the voice, would be to just think you've just woken up and you're still talking in your morning voice and you're kind of weak and tired, and there's a bit of an extra noise coming onto your voice. And if you just train to do that very consistently, you can have that kind of undertone with it too.
Yeah.
You could also do the opposite. have more of a white noise sound from it, which metal singers would use as a foundation for Fry Scream.
That sounds great.
Yeah, that is actually only a true false. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm interested in is how do we get like what creates the creaking. So okay, so there's we know like, oh, the vocal folds are behaving like this, but we don't really know like what exactly is creating it. And I would love to know because of my other concept that that I call the flash tension, for short, or flageolet tension, which I'm dropping a video about soon. But I would love to know about that because there seems to be different ways of making the creak, and one is like you add some kind of thing and you add a creak, and one is actually kind of like you take something away and a creak appears. So it's like you can I was explaining this the other day. It's like you can squeeze for your creak, and then I'm kind of squeezing something to get it to appear, or I can let something go, and then I can get my creaks. Let me try. And there I feel like I'm just relaxing, and my creak is coming.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, right? When I add the squeeze, I don't feel like I'm doing what I call. When I add the squeeze, I feel like I'm doing, in most cases for my creak, flash tension. But when I do it, when I take it away, I don't feel it. So it's interesting because I think we can definitely coordinate our vocal effects differently, in different subtle ways.
I would just say that if you add something on top or if you take something away is really a matter of perspective, because creaking seems to happen anytime there's a mismatch or just like a small imbalance between the energy we put in. You could talk of it as support or air pressure or whatever, and the resistance, how much the vocal folds are compressed to each other, how much narrowing we have above that. And well, what exactly are the vocal folds doing? I haven't had the chance of looking at them with like microscope and in slow motion, so I don't know what exactly the vibratory pattern is, but we for sure know that it's a complex one. And if we look at the waveform, it looks like every second, how's it called, like hill or mountain. If you look at the wave like a mountain, then every second wave is louder. And then every other wave is quieter. So that's how we get a distortion sound, because half the frequency is twice as loud. And we could also get other subharmonics, like kind of a power chord sound. I don't know if I can do it now. Let me just try. No, not really consistently, but you can hear it jumping back between different pitches, and basically all of those are different ways of the waves having stronger and weaker amplitudes. And well, the thing I just did right now was taking energy away relative to my normal speaking voice. La 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 la. This is my speaking voice, and now if I'm tired and in my morning voice, I'm taking energy away and starts creaking. But if I start from a point of, hey, really loud, yelling, and then I take energy away, hey, I'm having that more subtle thing. I call it projected creaking because it's slightly louder. Yeah, that's slightly different. It's not as obvious as this one. Relative to my normal speaking voice, I'm adding energy. I'm adding a squeeze. I'm approaching the more narrowed metallic sound, CVT would call it. But I think also from a pedagogical perspective and a vocal health perspective, it makes sense to start from a clean coordination that has more energy than the creak. So if we want like a really loud fry scream just being any effect combined with creaking, then it might make sense to start from a really loud yell, a comfortable yell, of course, a well-supported one with good vowels, and then just take energy away. Just sustain that yell, but act as if you're tired. And it will not hurt your voice because your vocal folds will compensate for that. They will adjust to a more complex vibratory pattern. Let me just see. Yeah! A little fried distortion. You could have more, just extreme one if you sing post-hardcore styles or something. But all of that feels totally fine. It sounds like totally wrecking the folds, but it's no problem because I'm starting from a well-supported point and then I'm just taking energy away and let my vocal folds do their thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super cool. I cannot do that like that, but I like it. It's a nice sound. All right, well, does anybody want to volunteer? The chat has been super quiet. I have never seen the chat so quiet. So, first of all, are you guys alive? Second of all, who would like to volunteer and to come on to learn about some different vocal effects and sounds? Or if you're wondering, how do I make a growl, or I'm really struggling with this, or when I do it, my voice hurts, or how do I make these sounds in a musical context, right? Like in my song, that's come on. Come on, we'll do a little
How
group
about
call.
squalls? I've read the question, how about squalls? And that's interesting. Because squall is not a CVT term, but just listening to the sounds people call gospel squalls or blues squalls, I often hear a really good rattle. So as I said, rattle is not my strongest effect, but like basically this thing taken up to a pretty high belting range. Of course, a well-supported one, ideally standing up for that. But that would be what most people would call gospel squalls. Greg, I know that you can actually do a pretty good gospel squall sound. I can only like fake it in falsetto, but I'd be interested in yours.
Yeah, let me try. I haven't. I still call it morning for me. So I gotta. Let's see if it'll work. Yeah, there we go. Oh, wait, I'm gonna distort the mic. Hold on.
It actually sounds pretty good with the distortion on the mic. Could you say it's an effect combination of rattle and distortion? Okay, sorry.
I love it. Okay, so this is a lot of sounds like this in gospel music are used. So if we're doing something like whoa, there's a lot of that, especially in the climactic, very emotional moments when they're praising the Lord. God is my strength. They use that a lot, but that's basically just me trying to belt as strong as I can. That high, yeah, G, M1 or M2. No, okay, let's not go there. And I'm using the Aritenoid Rattle. So it's like what we talked about earlier. And you guys, I'm leaving them up there in case you want to see them again. You can always ask me to blow up the images. But the arytenoid cartilages, those ones at the back where you see the opening, they sit on here. They actually, muscles are attached to them, and they control what the vocal folds do. So when you bring them together, right? That's rattle. But up high, that's also rattle. It just sounds very different, but you got to think about it's a high note, right? So my under voice is very different. It's a lot more like this instead of right? So to me, they feel very, very different from the low range to the upper range, right? They don't feel exactly the same. My lower rattle feels a lot thicker, feels meatier. You know what? That one makes me think of the guy from Star Wars that used to own. That was like he was the guy that owned Anakin and Anakin's mother from Star Wars on where I forget what Tatooine or something like that. Anyway, He's like, "Oh, Annie, yeah, you've grown so much." He talks like that, and that's rattle. So for me, it's like this kind of, I do that kind of squeeze, and then I get a thicker, rattle. But that doesn't really work for me up high, unless I do what I call grandpa voice that I actually learned from Toni. And then I can bring that coordination up high. But I can also, yeah. But I can switch that and just use my lighter sound. So instead of pulling that, I'll switch to something lighter, and then it makes my rattle feel a little lighter, a little more easier. You can hear the character of my voice underneath the rattle is very different than the lower sound. Right? So, yeah, that would be gospel squalls would probably only be squalls way up there in the in the range.
Yeah, you could say that squalls are basically a pretty refined and specific version of rattle or application of just the vocal effect. And I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I think it's interesting just to make these connections. It's pretty similar to what some 80s hair metal singers did. If you guys know Painkiller by Judas Priest. Faster than a bullet! It's a slightly even nastier sound. It's probably in falsetto, but this kind of thing is pretty similar to what gospel singers have been doing way before that. So actually, the heavy metal singers learned from the gospel singers in a way. Tom Waits does a pretty interesting dark rattle version. He actually sounds like he's growling, but I think he's not doing this pretty relaxed sound, but he's more like doing this all the time, and it's the same vocal effect as this. It's just a very different version of it.
Yeah, right. And so you know what, that it's fair to, I think, categorize things that feel and sound very, very different. So it doesn't, it makes sense that somebody would say, well, that's a squall versus this is some kind of a different sound. But when we're looking at it anatomically, we're gonna say that they're the same thing, and that's because literally they're the same thing. And it's actually just like when you talk about other vocal terminology like chest voice, falsetto, head voice, mixed voice. If we're looking at anatomically, and we're looking at, well, what are the vocal folds doing? If it's oh, that's M1, right? But we're gonna be like, well, I'm going from my chest voice to my mix, and then maybe some people even say is my head voice and not M1. But we're looking at the vocal folds and saying, yeah, well, they're pretty much just kind of doing the same thing insofar as we can observe and say, yeah, the pitch is higher, but they look like they're doing pretty much the same function, right? So we call that the same thing, and they call that M1. And we could say, well, then it's all just chest, right? But then we kind of rob ourselves a little bit of the value of what are people getting at when they're saying, well, what is a mix versus what is just chest or what is a head voice, right? There is a reason that these words were created, and so too is squall, right? There's going to be differences in feelings, and it's a very specific term. And when you have specificity, it's there for a reason, right? It's going to do something for you in its proper context, right? That's important to understand. So, for me, I don't think of it as a squall, really. I just kind of think of it as high rattle, and that works for me. But, if you want to think of that as a squall, just know that it's the arytenoid cartilages vibrating, and you can do that lower and you can do that higher.
Yeah, I also like to add to that there's just many ways you can approach the voice and registration and all other topics concerned with not just the voice but life. Basically, you can view it as different modules or different registers or different even just qualities, coordinations. But you could also totally change your approach and say, okay, it's all the same thing, and it's just all the different directions of it, all the different incarnations of it, basically. And in the moment where a certain terminology or a certain approach or even a certain practice structure or whatever doesn't help you, it's your right to switch away from that to something else, even though those two approaches might contradict each other. You're the judge for your voice and basically for anything you are doing. You decide which way you want to approach it. And most of these are only models or images, and I mean, they can be very helpful and they can be very unhelpful.
I just gotta say, amen, amen, amen. You just spat some wisdom.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, that was great. I completely agree. If your way of thinking about it isn't working for you, and you know if it's not working because you're not making any progress. So if you've stopped getting better, then there's something going wrong there, right? So in the way that you're categorizing things, I don't think that's as much. Well, you know what? I can't even say that because I don't really work with vocal effects and teaching them that often, right? Like the people that come to me for lessons aren't usually, I've done it pretty rarely, but it's definitely not a focus of mine at all. So I can't really say, but for me, definitely in sort of regular singing without effects, the way that people are thinking about singing and the way that they're thinking about their voice overall definitely is either going to make you sing better or it's going to hamper your progress a lot. So the biggest example of that is like voice type, but I don't know. Maybe people do make excuses like that. I wouldn't know, Tony, about like vocal effects that they can or can't do based off of like their ability. But for example, like voice type, like you guys you guys definitely have heard about voice type, and that's not good. That it's such like the fact that I have to say voice type and like we laugh about it because like it's such a problem because people basically take voice type to the wrong conclusions, that you're genetically limited and that you can't make certain sounds because that's just how your voice is. But the reality is that if you're even working on your singing at all to improve, you know that there's things you can do, there's actions you can take that are going to make your singing voice better, right? There's things that you can learn about it. But we don't know where that and your genetic limitation meet. In other words, you'll never know when the thing that you're doing, is it because you're just not doing it wrong and there's some information that you haven't learned, or if it's just impossible for your voice, right? And so boom, we got to put some philosophy in here and say consequentialism is the way to go here.
Yeah.
You got to look at the consequences of believing that, you can't do it. If you're believing I'm a baritone and I'm not able to sing tenor C, why would you ever try? It's like trying to make like a 20-foot jump across a cliff and there's a bear chasing you. If you believe that you're not going to do it, why would you try? You've got to believe that you're going to do it in order to even try to get there. So I don't know if I see stuff like that with I don't see stuff like that with vocal effects, but also I'm not in that world. So
yeah, I mean, my approach is there are people who have a high voice, there are people who have a low voice just in their everyday experience. So if you meet them in the shopping mall, maybe not in these times right now, but if you meet them somewhere and you just start a small talk with them, they will either have more of this kind of speaking or they will have more of this kind of speaking, and it's all in my same voice.
That's how I am. I'm actually a very high tenor.
Yeah, a lyric one.
No, a Ligerio.
Okay, it's called Ligerio, dumbass. And I mean, not all of these sound authentic to me. But basically, we don't really know what part of that is genetic because there are people with longer or thicker or different in some other way folds, vocal tracts. But it's also very much about how you've learned to speak, how you've used your voice for the whole time of your life. Speaking and singing and any other vocal usage are not separate. They are kind of separate brain-wise, and people might have very different mental approaches to speaking and singing, they might actually hit a very high note while excitedly speaking.
Yeah.
And then if you ask them to sing la this note, they're like, it's too fucking high for me. And
yeah,
I mean,
I love doing that. I love
that
to
happens.
track the notes that people do sometimes. I'll be like, oh, what note
Yeah.
is that? You know, if I if I'm just like living my life and I hear somebody like call out, I'll be like, I'll take out my pitch app, be like that kind of, or I'll do the note myself, be like, ah, I'll be like, damn, that was high. That's probably like a A.
Yeah, and I mean, I always say that everyone can learn every vocal effect and probably every vocal technique there is or coordination. When I say that, I don't mean to relativize that some people have it probably harder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they have it harder. Maybe it's a genetic disadvantage. Maybe it is just that they haven't learned how to learn. Maybe it's just luck, you know?
Yeah. Right. And at the
So
end of the day, it doesn't
definitely,
matter.
yeah, there's definitely people who have a pretty intuitive way of finding vocal effects. And as I said, I'm pretty, intuitive with a distortion. I'm not very intuitive with a rattle. I can sort of do it, but whenever someone wants to learn rattle, um I'm transparent about that, and I think there are these tendencies. Some people, use the word attractor states of a voice. It pretty much has to do with what your habits are, with what the ways of using your voice that you've developed are.
Yeah.
And there's no way around that. So in the moment where a student comes to me and says, I want to learn that effect, but I'm having a really hard time. I've learned all of these other techniques before, and I'm actually pretty good at it, but I can't, for the love of God, figure out how to do that. It doesn't help them to say, yeah, there's no excuse. It might actually, for some people, there might actually be like a bit of extrinsic motivation in that. But
right.
On the other hand, there's also no purpose in giving up before you've tried it because someone has labeled you a baritone or whatever.
Right.
And
I do want to say,
you might have labeled yourself something.
Yeah, I agree. And I do want to say though that all the effects that we're talking about can be done by everybody in some way, right? Unless you've got some kind of like medical condition, like maybe your epiglottis is deformed or something like that, like unless you've got something really going on that makes you an abnormal human, you're not like, you're capable of making these sounds, and you're capable of making them in a healthy way, that you're capable of using your voice like this in a way that doesn't hurt. Just because it hurts right now when you try stuff, it doesn't mean that it's not for you or that you're not capable of it. So and actually I did just realize as I was listening to you, I have heard before a lot of people say, oh yeah, they've just got that natural distortion or that natural rock sound, or they just got that grit in their voice, but it's healthy. But it's healthy for them. It's healthy for them, but they just got it natural. I've heard that.
Not for you.
Yeah. I've even heard that from teachers. I remember I heard that from a vocal coach once that was talking about John Legend. He's just got that natural like rasp to his voice, but that's just like, it's okay for him. And I'm like that's,
yeah, those people have it naturally, but then they are also supernatural talents. So it's kind of this contradiction of people being something better than you so they can do it, or people being individuals. So
yeah,
I don't think those are helpful approaches for singers
and again,
to view it as this essentialist thing.
Yeah, that's the thought process behind it, which is that's a horrible way to think about it. No, actually, even from research, from institutions. I really only know about CVI, but maybe there's others, right, where they teach hundreds, thousands of singers to make these sounds in a healthy way. It's possible. It's possible for you guys. Okay, so in the chat, somebody was asking, first of all, to do a Smeagol impression. So I do want to get to that. That sounds really educational. But also, Timon asks, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Timon. He's a beginner, and he's wondering how to control his vocal effects. Because if he tries to imitate sounds, it doesn't feel good. So how does he engage his false vocal folds without hurting himself, I guess? Well, Timon, if you want to come on, and if anybody is feeling like a beginner or scared or overwhelmed of like, oh man, no, if I tried it right now and it hurt, it's okay. We've all been there. Everybody has been there, has been a beginner, has messed up, has hurt themselves. with the vocal effects, you gotta not be scared. That's gonna be the biggest thing that's gonna hold you back from developing. A little bit of pain is okay. It's just your body saying like, "Hey, don't do that to me." So that's not a good thing. And it's gonna happen as you guys are trying to figure out the vocal effects. You're going to kind of blunder, stumble. You're gonna like trip. You're gonna be miscoordinated, and you just gotta heed those warning signs. And if it feels too severe, and it feels like, oh man, like now you feel like maybe your voice got hot on the inside, like very very heated, or it feels like your falsetto starts to disappear, your voice feels very very different, your high notes go away, any kind of signs like that, soft sounds are very hard, or your voice like cuts in and out, then that's a sign that you've got some vocal fold inflammation, which is okay. That's not the end of the world. You just rest. You'll probably be fine tomorrow and ready to go again with some sick distortion. But when I was learning how to do it, I had days where I would, I would be like, man, that doesn't feel good. And then the next day I would go out and be like, oh, it's a little bit better today. It doesn't cost me as much. So it's definitely something you learn to do with time. And I think even maybe like in the case of stuff like a rattle, it's a very abrasive sound. I mean, you've got those cartilages, which again aren't the vocal folds, touching each other, and they have like basically tissue, like skin on them, and that probably doesn't feel good to them. So I think there is some level where you have to desensitize yourself to some of those things. You don't want to see the condition of your voice deteriorate. Like if I'm doing rattle, I don't want to suddenly start losing my high notes. I don't want, to be coughing from that. But if at the same time I'm feeling new sensations, but the quality of my voice isn't changing, I would say be okay with that, and just, you'll progress with it. You'll learn intuitively what is right over time.
Yeah, and the thing is, the one aspect is really not being afraid to, go a bit risky, because trying out advanced stuff is always risky, and that is not only true for rough vocal effects, it's also true for opera singing. Opera singing is pretty advanced, and many people have wrecked their voices training opera in not very efficient ways. And in the moment where something hurts, where you either have this feeling of tension, we actually do need tension, but in the moment where it feels tense, it's probably not the one we want, or if it tickles or we actually have to cough, those are signs we are doing stuff that shouldn't be done. And in that situation, either try something else, because we have kind of this whole equation of our voice, and we don't need to understand maths in order to just try out and experiment what happens if we change one parameter. Maybe we have used too much air, maybe we haven't resisted all that air in a way. Maybe we can resist easier if we just make it very bright and nasty. That actually helps for many vocal effects. I mean, there are some guidelines for each of these effects, and it helps to know them, which is why CVT teaches them and takes them seriously. But usually when something is wrong, okay, don't do the same thing again, try something different. And if you do wrong stuff over and over again, okay, then rest for that day. Try again the next day. Don't stay too long on something that you aren't familiar with. I would recommend a couple minutes of practice each day, because if you're doing it right, actually, then a couple minutes of practice are actually enough. And
yeah.
I mean, I'm a bad example for that, because when I was like 15 years old, I used to sit in my room and do stuff like this for 5 hours straight. And I mean, even doing that now, this was not like a sustainable vocal technique. It was just random. It actually tickles my throat. Am I gonna be okay? Yes, I am gonna be okay. Am I gonna do it again? No, not now. Right? So it's just about being responsible with your voice. It's fine to do more abrasive stuff to tire out sooner. Otherwise, we wouldn't do sports. Sports is actually pretty tiring in its effort for people. We could just sleep. We could just be dead all the time. That would be the most relaxed thing. But that's not what life is about, I guess. And when we want to do effects, we want to find the most efficient way, and we can only do that if we actually risk doing it wrong a couple of times. And there are ways to do it well, so don't be afraid to do it. Inform yourselves.
Yeah, basically.
And actually, if you have like a question, we can answer it now.
Yeah, totally. And just the moral of that story is no pain, no gain. You have to suffer. More suffering, more pain in your throat, the better. If you actually pop a blood vessel, then you'll get a sick distortion. I'm just kidding.
If your distortion hurts, actually do it, because of on the other side of hurt, there's beauty or something.
Yeah.
I've heard a pretty good throat singing teacher on YouTube say that about lowering the jaw for Kagura. His name is Alex Glenfield. So I just had to steal that right now. But
that's funny. I love it. On the other side of the pain, there's beauty.
Yeah.
LOL. All right, guys. So, yay, nodules. Yeah, who wants to come on? Don't be scared. I'm gonna do the Smeagol impression, and then I want somebody to volunteer, please. Normally, y'all volunteer, but today, you guys are afraid, I guess, because it's effects. Okay, so Luo asks, how long can you sing normally a day when not causing any constriction? So when you say that, Luo, are you saying like any constriction is in not any vocal effect, or are you saying when you do the vocal effects without hurting yourself, right? When you do them as well as possible, how long can you sing a day? I mean, in my case, it depends which ones I do, because they don't all have the same. They don't all work the same. They don't all require the same energy, and they don't all have the same risk. So if I'm singing with creaking, I could do creaking all day. So I'm doing like, Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. I can do the sound a lot. It doesn't take very much energy. In fact, it helps to drop the energy. So if I'm singing projected, if I'm making my voice clear, Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. That's going to be easier for me, and it's going to be actually harder for me energy-wise. And because I'm using more energy, right? Just like if you start running faster, you're not going to be able to go as long, right? You'll get there faster, but you won't be able to go as long. So just like that too, creaking actually I can last longer singing with creaking than I can with my normal voice without the effect. Distortion, I could do distortion all day long. Distortion is not that energy intensive, which is the, Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. That one just takes a little bit more energy than my sort of normal one, right? Without any effect. Rattle takes a lot of energy to do. So that one is like the most energy intensive. So if I'm singing and I'm trying to do it all day long, the risk is not doing it too much for me. It's that when I start getting tired, I'm going to start making mistakes. So when I start getting tired and I start losing my energy, I'm going to start doing it wrong, and then it's going to start costing me, especially when you put it in the context where you can't stop and fix it. Like if I do something and I'm practicing in my little bubble at home where I'm not performing, I can be like, oh, fuck, hold on. But if you're on stage, you got to do it once, and you don't get a headband. Please wait. While there we go. There's my rattle. Let me just put some more twang in it. You get one chance to do it in the context of your song before you move on. So that's when you're performing. The stakes are higher, and there's more risk of injury because you need to do it right in the moment, and you've got adrenaline pumping and stuff like that. So it just basically, how long you can sing is really relative to the context that you're singing in.
Yeah. And I really like that you brought up performing, or like the actual live situation, or the you got one shot situation, because in those we can't really approach singing, vocalization in general, in the same way that we usually can in our safe practice room, right? Where we can also allow ourselves to sound really ugly, to just fool around, where we have no inhibitions. And that's why we need strategies that don't only work when we're feeling well and when we we're allowing ourselves to do mistakes, but we need strategies that actually we can rely on intuitively live. So we actually practice those things, like having enough twang for distortion. So not hey, just pushing. That's a way of getting a cool sound too, but it hurts. But just hey, yeah, whoa, starting from this pretty nasty place. It's probably a bit nastier than I wanted in the actual distortion, just artistically. But I'm relying on that. I'm building muscle memory. And then in distortion, I don't care about how much twang I have. I don't even care about whether it's a distortion or some other expressive sound. But I'm just doing, I was born on the... I'm relying on whatever comes and whatever I practiced.
Right.
And it usually works then. And I mean, I've done bad live performances and I've done decent live performances. And in the decent live performances where everything worked as I wanted it, and there was nothing disturbing me, and no bad audio and all that, I could do like pretty rough stuff for an hour, and my voice felt fine afterwards. It actually was warmed up then.
Yeah.
So
right.
You can basically do that for hours. It depends a bit on your personal strength, because I guess you cannot do it for 10 hours without being totally tired afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, how long do opera singers use their day per their voice per day? How many hours can they do that day after day after day? And they probably won't sing 8 hours every day, every week, but they might have a day where they have to sing 8 hours, and it will work if they're doing it well. And that's the same for vocal effects. It's actually not the case for me either that clean singing is easier or less abrasive than vocal effects. If I if I have to sing in falsetto, which is a pretty you could call it light coordination. Light is right, we always get told. Strong is wrong. Well, if I have to sing in that and I'm just using slightly too much air for that range, or I'm not adjusting my vowels to how much air I want, la, 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 this can be pretty tiring to me if I'm doing it wrong.
Absolutely.
It can be much more tiring than this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it really depends. Every coordination is unique, and if in a moment where we actually look at them without any prejudice, and in the moment where we take each of these sounds seriously, no matter how silly it sounds to our ears or how much we personally like it, in that moment we can find strategies to do just that in the most efficient way possible, and that is what you could call a vocal technique, right? So with vocal technique you can do that for hours.
Right, I agree. I'm gonna check my email, see if anybody emailed me, because I'm gonna be sad if nobody did. I'm about to start just calling names. I agree with what you're saying. There was something that it made me think of that I wanted to cut in and say, but now I forgot. Oh yeah, a lot of times I don't practice my vocal effects, and I'll lose my voice from doing other things totally unrelated to that. Like, I really like breathy, husky sounds that have a little metal in them. And, that's not that's not that good, technically. Let's just say that. Your voice really isn't designed to function efficiently like that, but I like it, right? So I like something that's not that efficient. So when I practice that, I'm going out of my way to make things feel worse to sound better, you could say as well, right? And it has nothing to do with, and it may even sound better to some, like, people's ears, like, oh yeah, it sounds more free, but I'm not feeling it more free, right? I'll maybe be feeling like has more freedom than something where I'm trying to keep some air in, but also, close the vocal folds more and get a bit of a chestier sound, but while also keeping the air, the airy sound. So I'm trying to like texturize my voice in a way that sounds light, sounds a lot lighter, sounds a lot lighter. I think I'm just clipping again, but then right. But one that one feels more intuitive, feels easier, takes less energy, takes less concentration for me. So actually, I would say I have better technique with it, you know? So it doesn't work the way that people think, because there's so much bad information about, you know, oh, you're going to hurt your voice, you're going to damage your voice, oh, that sounds bad. And we just let that cloud our minds, like, oh yeah, the vocal effect it's wrong, or, you know what I mean? Like, that's not good, don't do that. So I think probably for most people with the vocal effects, you got to get the fear out. You got to just stop. If your teacher, if your choir teacher, I hate choir teachers. I have a prejudice against them. If your choir teacher tells you don't do that because you're going to hurt your voice, you know, they're wrong. At the end of the day, they're just wrong. And that's okay. You know, they can still have good information about other things, and, you know, maybe they have great information about music theory, or, you know, about harmonizing, or about what they can do, right? But if they are talking about something that they're not able to do, that they don't know anything about, right? A lot of times you'll just see teachers will say things about effects because it's always been said that way about effects. So it's just been passed on generationally, right? Like their teacher told them, and their teacher before them told them, if you do that, you're going to hurt yourself. And they never thought to say, well, maybe they did, but maybe they just closed the door and said, you know what? I'm just going to go with that and trust that information, because this other information they gave me turned out to be true and work for my voice and singing. So I'm going to think, and when I've tried to do the effects, it's hurt. So they're not good. Don't do them. I don't want you to hurt yourself. Right. So a lot of it comes from that kind of a place, which is not good when you're trying to learn them.
It's not well informed, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've actually just read a question that's pretty interesting to me. It's not primarily about vocal effects, but I think it has some relevance for them. Inking asks, what would you say is the best to be able to increase your vocal range? Would you say it's vowel modifications?
Wait, before you get there though, I'm sorry. We have to do the Smeagol. We have to do the Smeagol.
Do the Smeagol.
I mean, it's good. Wait, I want to hear your Smeagol too, though.
You do yours first because I have to imitate it.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me just get up some lines from Lord of the Ring. Smeagol lines, Lord of the Rings. Okay, I hope Ethan is still there watching this for the Smeagol impersonation that he asked for. Okay, Smeagol quotes. All right, we're gonna love this. Okay, let's see.
Sneaking, fat herberts are Sir Pilot. Smeagol shows them the secret way that nobody else could find, and thus they sneak. Very nice friend, or less, my precious. Very, very nice.
There we go.
That's a pretty interesting sound. My precious.
It's really interesting. It's one of the sounds that I'm actually most interested. I've been most interested in within the last couple of weeks, from a singing perspective, actually. Has anyone ever heard of Anastasia?
I'm sick and tired of always being sick and tired. My precious. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
I love it. Yeah. That's the Smeagol. That's my Smeagol. So there's definitely vocal effects going on there. Especially when he does the grom. It's like a couple different ones. Very versatile sound. Yeah, somebody said you could be a voice actor. Yeah, voice actors are actually really, I'm glad that they said that, because voice actors are very good examples of people that do vocal effects constantly for a living.
Yeah.
For years. And they're okay. So you'll see, like, in a video game character, it'll be like, you know, you're playing your RPG game, and then you meet the main boss, and he's like, you know, you dare, you know, challenge me, right? And it's like, you'll hear that, and you won't think, oh man, the dude's brutalizing his voice. You'll just be like, cool, as you're playing your game, right? But, you know, they're able to use their voice like that in a very versatile way and make those different sounds. We can too, and put that in singing, right? And what was that? Yeah, rattle. just really don't. Ah, ah. Yeah, I suck at it actually when I raise my larynx, but ah, ah, ah. It's the Annie. You've grown. Same sound.
And actually, not only voice actors use that in other contexts than singing. I meet lots of people in my everyday life situations that accidentally or unconsciously use vocal effects. I have people being angry about something and be like, "Oh no!" and I'm like, "Can you do that again? That was a perfect growl." Oh no! And you got people just do that. People do like perfect, death metal grunts. Not in that way, but they're like, I really hate that.
Yeah.
They don't hurt themselves because they don't think of it as a technique. They just express themselves, and that I mean, what these musical styles emerge from, right?
Yeah, I agree. Somebody said something, and I was gonna say something. Fuck, now I don't remember. Oh, rattle. A rattle's a really common one that people do throughout their day, or when they're angry or expressing something. It's like, fuck, fuck, and it doesn't hurt. They're not in the moment. You're just like, fuck. So what note was that? Ooh, that was a G with my rattle. That was sick.
That was a G. Yeah, and actually, people use it when they clear their throats. I've actually, I have the impression that there are 3 types of people. The people that use distortion, the people that use rattle, and the people that use growl. Like whenever someone wants to learn any vocal effect, I ask them to clear their throat, and then we have the first one. It's only one usually, but
right, that's
it's
cool.
really common.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, somebody volunteer. Come on, volunteer. Do it. Don't leave me hanging. You're embarrassing me. I told Tony, I was like, yeah, we'll have some people come on, and not one of you. Not one of you. This is how you guys do me? Don't embarrass me in front of my friends! See, and there was distortion. Don't embarrass me! Don't embarrass me! Ah! See?
Yeah!
It's just that easy. Mom! I don't want to clean my room!
I don't want to clean my room. Everyday situations. It's just easy.
Oh man! So you would call that a fry scream, right? I can't do that.
It was actually inhale fry.
Oh.
Unhealthy. Unhealthy.
Yeah. No chance.
Yeah. Well, if no one wants to actually come in right now, I think I'd just like to answer the high note question, even though that's a pretty potentially complicated one.
I want you to go ahead. Somebody just emailed me, so I'm gonna see if they can, if they want to come on.
Yeah. Basically, Ink King, you asked this. I'd say it really depends how you want those high notes to sound, because the first question is, what is high? Is this high? It's a bit higher than I speak. Or is this high? This is much higher than the other high. So it depends on how high, and then also how loud, how beefy, how delicate, how bright, how dark. Because, you could just pull the most possible weight up there and get a pretty powerful belting sound. And you need to do different stuff for that than if you wanted like what people call a mixed sound. Where it's thinned out more, but it's not just a pure falsetto. You have to do different stuff for all of these, so it would make sense to know what exactly your sound is, and then you can design basically everything you have control over in order to make that sound most efficiently. In general, belting, open mouth, bite, lots of energy, like calling someone. And then if you want thinner sounds, you basically don't use as much energy, but you kind of hold back and find an easy way. And that has to do with vowel modifications too. Different vowels evoke different vocal fold. coordinations, because the resonance that you create and that you shape actually supports the folds from the other side. There's two sides of support basically, and it's just one whole thing that has to stay in balance, and those balances vary for each strategy. So I didn't really answer your question. I'm sorry about that, but I think I'm a bit more honest than people who say this is how you sing high notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times people don't like those kind of answers because fuck. The truth is that the truth is hard to find, and that things are more complex. And so it's like, imagine this: you ask a rocket scientist, for example, why can't we just like reuse the rockets? Like, why is it so hard? And they're like, and they sigh at you. It's like, that's kind of understandable if you just kind of ask like a dumb question, and I'm not saying like it's dumb or anybody's dumb, but it's a simple question which betrays that you don't have an understanding. If you ask a rocket scientist something like that, they're going to be like, because you just don't have all the information that makes your question not even make sense as a question, or a good question, you could say, right? And sometimes when you ask certain questions and you start learning about things, you realize you were asking the wrong questions because your entire idea or framework about how things worked was completely wrong. So that's kind of in singing, that happens a lot, where it's like, no, like it doesn't work that way. And it's kind of rough because it's like your whole understanding of something is getting altered. And it's like, oh, whoa, like it's completely not how I thought. And I think as singers, we don't like that because that makes us very, very uncomfortable. It makes us uncomfortable as people in any sense when that happens to things that we think we know and believe as knowledge, right? For somebody to holes in it, it doesn't feel good. Yeah. It's very uncomfortable. So, but it's more honest, at the end of the day, it is more honest. So, yeah. Okay. Let me see if the person is already. Yes. Okay. Let's see if I can add him. Hey. Okay. How would I add to a group with Toni? Oh, wait a minute. Am I trying to start a new call? Maybe I might have to start. Oh no, I wouldn't want it to break the tech. I'm worried I start a new call and I'm gonna revert to the to it before. Well, while that does its thing, Antonio asked if there's any difference with the fatigue that can come with singing without effects versus singing with them. I think absolutely. For me, singing with the effects, I think sometimes what gets irritated is not my vocal folds, but the things above my vocal folds. So particularly with rattle, like I get tired and I think I feel like that tissue getting irritated. And so that fatigue, I think, feels different. And I think too, from times when I'll do an effect and I'll do it for a really long period of time, it will sort of shift my voice a certain way. So your voice is kind of like clay. Like the more you do different things with it, it's kind of going to get a certain shape and start behaving a certain way. And then the whole thing can kind of change because you'll put it in a certain like position, let's say, right? And it's like memory foam or clay. It'll kind of hold that. And so I think that will happen, and I can get sort of a very interesting particular fatigue from effects that I don't get from my normal singing. That's like only effect fatigue. So I think absolutely, Antonio, if you want to chime in on that.
I usually experience two main kinds of uncomfortable feelings. The first one would be if I push too much air for a certain coordination, which can happen in distorted stuff like this one, where I didn't really rely on twang or anything else. It can also happen in clean singing, what basically Greg talked about earlier on. If you want a powerful kind of metallic piercing sound with extra air, that's a contradiction. You can decide to, go with that contradiction, but it's gonna produce a similar kind of tickling sensation probably as the one in Distortion does. And the other kind of uncomfortable feeling I might get is when I tense up stuff that I don't need to tense up. So if there's uncontrolled and unnecessary constriction, or maybe contradicting tensions, right? And then everything feels like I'm basically getting stuck here, and that can be true for vocal effects, but also for clean singing. I get that in clean singing all the time if a coordination is new to me, and then I see what can I change about this, and usually then it gets better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, and if anybody wants to come on, again, what we're talking about is these vocal effects. How do you do distortion? How do you do rattle? Right? Or rattle! How do you do I suck at it. I suck at it right now anyway. Creaking. There we go. Growl, you know, whoa, whoa. How do you make these kind of sounds, right? You'll hear a lot of singers use them if you want to, you know, if you guys want to learn, I'll add you to our Skype call right now. So, let's see what else. Yeah, you guys can ask questions not related to effects, but I would prefer to keep it related to effects since this is the theme of the thing, and people will find this video and be like, you know, they'll be watching it for effects, hopefully. So,
they'll be watching it for 40 minutes of technical problems.
Yeah, I'm going to try to cut that part out. I'm going to try to cut it and then re-upload it or something. I think I can do that.
How do I lose weight?
Yeah.
Don't ask me.
Yeah. Kai, yeah, you can come on, Kai. That would be awesome. Fatigue is a big problem for you, Timon. Okay, yeah, Timon, that's not good. You're definitely doing some things wrong if you're getting tired after 10 or 15 minutes of singing. Right, you're definitely doing something wrong. So we would have to hear it, though. But if you want to come on, we can help you. But we will also want to practice the vocal effects with you. But we can tie that into actually helping you clear out your voice, because you'd never want to start messing with effects if you can't get your foundation correct. So if you can't sit there and go, you know, ah, and make a clear sound, then we don't want to be adding ah. We don't want to be messing with anything like that, and you don't want to be adding distortion on your high notes. You know, if you can't we got to have that first. That's kind of the foundation. Do it clean, because you're adding something. You don't want to find your high notes, just like screaming. And that didn't hurt me, but still, it's just an idea. If you go to try to scream, you're probably going to hurt yourself.
Pretty nice fry scream, by the way, Greg.
Was it a fry scream?
It was. Accidental fry scream.
I'm going to do it again. Nope. Is that fry scream?
Kind of. Well, it's one sound some people would call fry scream. And then you could get more into detail about what combination of things it is, and you know.
I think it's maybe rattle and creak. No, damn it. See, when I think about it too much and I use my technique, I do the rattle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, cool. You even put the link right there. Cool, Kai. Well, let me see. Somebody else may want to join. Let's see. I'd love to get a chance to watch each channel. I'm not too sure. I would be able to join in, though. It sounds nice, but I do happen to live. Okay. Let me know. How do I search? I think do I have to go to add people? New contact. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. There we go. Add contact. All right. So since they're a contact now, I should be able to go into our chat and then hit the little thing and then type in their name. and then add them to the call. All right, cool. Okay, is it working?
Hello?
Oh, hey, how's it going?
Yes.
I'm good.
What's your name?
You scared me. As soon as you added me on stream, it played the call
Oh,
very loud.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's your name?
Kyan, but people just say Kai because it's easier.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you. I don't know if we've met before. I have a terrible memory, so if that has happened, I'm sorry. But thanks for coming on. Okay, so what are you interested in working on today?
I don't really know. I just wanted to join the call and just figure out techniques.
Okay, all right. Well, that sounds good. Let's start with some of the basics then. Why don't we start with one of the you know, I'll just let Toni do it, so that I'll sit back and be lazy.
Would you be interested in learning creaking? That would be one possibility out of many.
I don't know.
Well, creaking. Let's do.
Can
some
you give me an
different
example?
Demos. Yeah, perfect. Let's do some demos so that you can hear. Toni, take it away.
Oh, it's kind of this noise, and it sounds like the name CVT is given to it. It sounds like creaking. Oh, yeah.
And then we'll do distortion to sound like this sounds like distortion. It's got a little bit of a heavier sound. It doesn't sound as relaxed and plaintive as a creak, which is distortion. So we could do that one. That's a possibility. Or we could do growl. Oh, 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 oh. You could learn that.
I do like the sound of the distortion.
Okay, cool. Take it away, Toni.
Oh.
Kai, can you do a pretty confident, almost nasty, angry, pissed off, clean sound like "ay"?
Hey!
Pretty good, pretty good. Can you sustain that? "Ay"? A bit longer.
Hey!
Pretty good. How does that feel?
Like I'm mad at someone.
Yeah. Do you have any uncomfortable sensation here, or is it fine?
It feels fine to me.
That's cool. Now, can you try to make the nastiness even worse so that you have the feeling of hitting a wall, and then in the moment where you hit a wall with how nasty you can go, your false vocal folds will sneak in and compensate, probably. I'm going to demonstrate what I mean. Hey! And there was a bit of that extra dirt there. And it was just my false folds thinking, oh, I'm going to help the true vocal folds with all that pressure. Let's try that.
Wait, what? Hold on. Do it again.
Basically, I'm doing the same thing, and then I'm doing twice of it. Hey! And it distorts. In addition to that nastiness, I'm not trying to do that sound. I'm just being nasty, and then I'm being double nasty. And it's my false folds coming in. It's really just that. This kind of twang, you could call it, is just increasing, and then the false folds sneak in.
Oh.
So for you, just do that pissed off, angry sound. A, like you're angry, and then just put more of it. Just do more.
Okay.
Hey!
Yeah.
Hey!
That's not bad. How's it feeling?
It doesn't hurt at all. It's just kind of in the throat.
Right. Yes.
It is.
Yeah. It all is.
That's where it comes from. But I don't know if I'll be able to sing with that. No. Do it.
Can you try to sustain it on one note? Right now, you're getting pretty cool sound, but it's kind of going all over the place with the pitch. If you can start on a note and sustain that note, and then add the distortion and stay on that note, and take it away and put it on there, so you can switch it on and off, do more and less of that nastiness. Let's see if you can do that. It takes a bit of practice, but if you're controlling that, that means you're doing it right.
I'm really nervous.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good, very good.
Wow.
Yeah. Does it still feel fine?
Yeah, I have a slight headache. It's been throbbing. It hurts.
Yeah.
Oh.
In the
yeah.
moment where you feel lots of that headache, which sometimes happens to me too, actually, that is a sign for me to just, be a bit more emotion with my whole body. So I'm not just, having this small part of my body, account for all of the pressure I'm giving, but I'm just using the whole energy of my whole body, not even thinking about diaphragmatic support or anything, just, hey, staying in motion. It's kind of like peer pressure. If these muscles are wiggling, everything here has to be relaxed too.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So can you give that a shot, Kai? Wiggle your body like that, like let your head move, and then do that nasty pissed off sound, and then do more.
I'm scared.
You're doing really well.
Yeah. There is definitely a distortion sound. I think there are more and less efficient ways of getting that sound, of getting the false folds to come together. And I'm trying to figure out what strategy you are using right now. When you do that sound, do you have the feeling of lifting a heavy weight? Is it kind of like doing this, or is it really just more of the nasty thing?
I think it's more like the weight thing.
That is interesting. I call that one hyper compressed. It feels like basically talking as a grandpa or something. And I think it's a valid strategy. It's a pretty cool one, actually, if you want more of that dark distortion sound. But it's not really compatible with, most clean styles of singing. If we're like, doing this kind of stuff, we're relying on a different kind of strategy, which would be called twang. It's the nasty thing I talked about. And for beginners, I usually recommend not relying on this pressing so much. It's possible, but it's a bit more advanced and less intuitive. And really trying to get that distortion sound from the nastiness. So do you want to try again? Making a really ugly sound. It doesn't have to be usable for music yet. And just doing that nastiness more. And then let's see if you can get the false fold sneaking in too, but without that headache.
So, okay.
That's what I get.
Oh, it actually sounded kind of like a rattle a little bit there. Do you feel, Kai, when you do, when you turn on that kind of heavy lifting sound, how it starts to feel like, how it feels like your body, your abs, everything gets more tense and flexed?
Yeah, definitely.
I want you to make sure you don't go there. So since you know what that is, I want you to turn it on purpose for a second. Go, hey! Do that on purpose. So make your first and then I want you to like pretend like you're gonna lift something or like you're pushing a poop out, and do it that way. Like just over exaggerate it to do it wrong. Can you? I don't know what that was. Can you push against something like you have a wall or a bed, something that you can, or your chair, like you're gonna lift something so heavy.
Like I'm gonna lift something
Yeah.
heavy.
Exactly. That's it. So that's what you want to stay away from, right?
Okay.
You can do it. So notice when it starts to creep on in your voice. We were looking for something different. I want you to do this. I want you to go, I want you to go back and forth between a sort of normal, pleasant sounding tone, and then I want you to make it nasty. Just do that real quick. Yours is more, I want you to go, like even brighter. Yeah, 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 like a little kid. There you go. Yes, yes, yes. That's the
Pretty
thing.
good.
That was good. That's the thing we want you to do to try to find your distortion. So I want you now to do that from a normal sound. So that's the destination. That's point B. Now start at point A. Clean sound. A. Go to A from A. A.
A.
Yeah, can you get it even nastier? A. Don't, okay, so that's like, don't do that. We want more bright nastiness. Think of like a little kid. Nya, 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 nya. Yes, there you go. Yes, there you go. That was excellent. And we can actually hear slightly for a second a little bit of distortion creep on. Did you feel it or notice it yourself?
I guess a little bit.
Okay, try it again.
My dad's questioning what I'm doing.
That's relatable. It's very good. Now, when you know how it's like you're going like this, right? Like you start here and then you move here. So it's a spectrum, right? It's not like dun dun, two different things, but you kind of slowly go In other words, you get more and more nasty, right? Or more and more twang. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want you to do even more. Once you get to the end, take it up a notch. Make it even more nasty, but the same kind of nastiness. Don't like go and switch or switch it, but do exactly the same thing that you're doing, but more.
That's what I mean with the wall you feel like hitting. There is definitely, I know the feeling of, I cannot twang more, because if I twang more, something will happen. Well, guess what will happen? Distortion will happen. The vocal folds will be supported by the false vocal folds. And there's always a way to make it even nastier than you think you are. Really, really think about not making it nasty for yourself, but the whole world has to hear your nastiness. Your deaf grandmother is sitting in the last row of the theater, and she wants to hear you, even though she can't hear anything anymore. Make her hear your nasty sound, and probably some distortion will sneak in.
Did you want me to do it?
Yeah. Give it a
Yeah,
shot.
yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So start from the clean and try to get to the high gross sound.
Yeah. Right.
They sound more like Stitch.
Exactly. That's your tongue. That's nodal. That's actually sidetrack a good way to get to growl, but we're trying to get distortion. So it's good that you can notice that's more like Stitch. What you want to do, and everybody out there, what you want to do is you want to start to categorize as you play with effects the different things that appear, and you need to have language to say this is this and this is this. So call that your Stitch voice, right, or your Stitch technique, and you can kind of feel, if you pay attention, your tongue finds a new spot for it, right? You want to avoid that, right? So let's say that's one thing, but that's not useful for distortion right now. That's useful for growl. So you can remember that when you want to figure out growl, right? And the grandpa, that's useful for a lot of different things, but we're trying to avoid that one right now too. But you can just kind of remember them. Oh yeah, I bumped into that. That's going to serve you well later as you're trying to figure out different things. So go and leave the tongue out. Find that nastiness again. Remember, it's nya, 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 right? It's very, very, very gross.
So what should like the tongue position be? Should it just be like laying down flat?
No, raised up, very, very high, and moving forward. So check mine out. You're out of this camera, so I'll show you real quick. Hey, hey. It goes up a lot. And everybody else can see on
Oh
the
my
screen,
god.
like that.
Okay.
Give it a shot.
No, that started to turn into a growl.
Right?
Yeah,
I can't control it. I can't.
actually, I think it's hard to micromanage these things when you haven't consciously done them before. Can you imitate a little child going like na 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 na? Children are not doing na, 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 that thing. At least not most children. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe weird children like me. Yeah. Yeah.
Not really. I'm kidding. It's just weird.
It's silly, but we have to go for silly sounds when we want to do stuff with the voice. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Can you try it again, Kai?
What was the note? Forgot.
Any comfortable note.
Like nee. Like that
Yeah.
one.
If you put a bit more energy into it, it will probably go a bit higher. Can you stay with that and not try to do any distorted sound, but just stay with that feeling and experience what you're doing to get this nasty sound we could call twang? Can you just stay with that clean thing a bit longer and get familiar with it? Because that's what we need for this kind of distortion.
What was it?
Good.
Yes, very good.
Keep going, Kai. Keep experimenting with it. Try to keep going with that nasty sound. Nya, 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 nya.
Sounds like annoying orange.
Yep.
It has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
What should I do?
Do it again.
Just like
yeah, keep playing with it. Just try to do it over and over again a couple times. Let's say 3 to 4 times. Nya, 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 nya. Really play and get accustomed to what is that feeling of that thing, of that nastiness. What does it feel like I'm doing with my voice, with my tongue, with your mouth? Just get comfortable with it.
Oh no. It's
Are
like
you still feeling like that child that is playing? Is the child doing this? Or is the child doing more like this and it's not really thinking about the sound that it's doing, but it's just playing around? You can also really, it's really about the mindset too, because you started up with the right sound, and then I guess we sometimes get hung up on I'm heading for distortion, and I think distortion is somewhere there. But don't think about distortion for a second. Think about the strategy that you need for distortion, which is just the child is really playful and not thinking about it. It's really just that. And don't judge yourself for doing silly sounds. Really go about it without any inhibition. You'll probably notice that when you do that for just half a minute, you get much more familiar with that. It gets much easier because it just, falls into place in the most efficient way. And you might accidentally get a distortion sound just from experimenting with it. That's kind of what we're going for.
Mm-hmm. My head hurts.
Okay, well we can stop if your headache is. But you're saying you had a headache beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we switch to creaking for a moment?
Okay.
So can you make a really lazy sound, like you're just tired?
Can I make a lazy sound?
Yeah, that's very, very
Pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's just vocal fry, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that we can have this kind of vocal fry as you're doing right now, and we can have this kind of vocal fry. Sound can go down in the range where it's just separate pulses. But for creaking, we want to stay up in the range wherever we want to sing a note, la 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 la, but we want to do it in that kind of relaxed way. Na 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 na, and it will not sound usable in the beginning when you try it out because it's not consistent, but that's not the point. Just try to find this breakup in the voice. It's kind of like not even adding fry to the voice. It's just like letting fry happen by taking away energy.
Oh.
So talk a bit of your morning voice and wait for it to happen. Maybe it will just sneak in a bit like this.
Talk in the morning voice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of low, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can start at a higher range. It's kind of like you're excited, but it's still morning voice.
I don't know about you, but my morning voice is not high at all.
Yeah. But maybe you're not excited in the mornings. Time to get excited.
Time to get excited.
Good.
Pretty good. You can also do that and talk like Marge Simpson. Marge Simpson always talks like that in his vocal fry or creaking and falsetto.
Oh.
So give it a.
I'm just
give
doing
it
the
a shot.
same thing as you just did.
Yeah, do
Can
that.
you do yours again?
Do what?
The same thing you just did. You basically excitedly talk like that. And that's just what Marge Simpson does all the time.
So basically, just talk like this.
Exactly.
Like
Can you sustain a note? With that cackling noise.
Wow. Very good.
That is creaking.
Nice.
And of course, depending on what style you want to sing, you can refine that. Have you ever heard Jamie Cullum?
No, I'm not familiar with much. All I
What
know is
music do you listen to?
21 Pilots, Tyler Joseph.
Actually, I think there's some creaking in some 21 Pilots songs, but I sadly can't remember the names there. But actually, if you listen to that kind of stuff,
Wait.
you might have heard people doing a da 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 na 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 na. Just a bit. Yeah.
In that Dick with the Pen, he sings with the creaking, I believe. It's like, hello, we haven't talked in quite some time.
Good.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you did it.
Oh my god, I feel so cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Wow.
When I was a child, like I would do the vocal fry thing and I wouldn't even know that it was called vocal fry. I was just doing a weird voice to my parents.
Yeah. A lot of times we do a lot of different sounds, and we actually can do a lot of different vocal effects and even a lot of cool vocal techniques. Although something Toni and I were saying earlier is that, when you get angry or something, like, fuck! A lot of times you'll do a vocal effect just in the moment, but you won't be able to recreate it later. So your voice is actually designed to do these things, and you do them without thinking in different parts of your life. And especially as a child, we all used to play with our voices a lot, and as we get older and older, we stop, we become adults. It sucks. And it can be, you really want to find that freedom, like when you're a kid, how you just kind of will play with your voice. That's the key to making vocal effects work, is to get that freedom of just being silly. So you can and find different sounds, or mimic Stitch, and you'll find, your growl. So, and just like with the creaking, it's like, or if you're complaining, Mom, I'm hungry, or you're mimicking whatever it feels like to you, whatever it reminds you of. All right, so
I know some people that just talk in vocal fry, like,
yep.
Hello, everyone.
Yep.
I kind of do that too.
Kim Kardashian does that a lot.
Anyways, can we wrap this up? I think I gotta go.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, thanks for coming on.
Very sadly,
Thanks for
I have
having
to
me.
stop being very loud from this time of clock now. I can answer questions in a speech level volume, which will be very pleasant for the speech level teachers watching.
All right, I'll do the effects, the loud ones. All right, see you later, Kai. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
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 Okay, so let's see if we have another one. I think we did. Okay, no. There we go. So we don't. All right, so if anybody wants to come on, let me know in the chat. Just say it in the chat and then find me on Skype or just find me on Skype and message me. Either one. So we'll just do, if you have more questions, we'll take those questions now. Somebody said, how high can you take distortion? I think you can take distortion as high as your falsetto will go. I would say you could take it as high, probably as high as your falsetto. I can't do distortion. Can you do distortion and whistle? I never thought about that. Can you do that?
Let me try. So when I do that, it's not really usable sound for most music, but actually people who want to know who's used that sound before, look up Mike Patton. He does that all the time. When I do that, I believe there's a bit of extra distortion going on amidst other things. So technically infinitely high. It's a bit more complicated. In falsetto, for me personally, that might really be an individual thing, but I noticed that with a couple of singers actually, it's harder to do distortion compared to rattle. I can do rattle, just, it's pretty easy sound in falsetto. And it's not that easy in falsetto to do distortion, probably because I'm used to using in my falsetto in a way that does not allow for distortion as much. So for me, if I want to demonstrate good distortion, I use within my, you could call it mechanism 1, you could call it chesty sounds, metallic sounds. I can actually take up distortion in what you could call a mixed voice, a thinned out connected thing, into the 5th octave. But that's pretty individual. It depends very much on what strategies you use to do that. If you are using this kind of compressed thing, hypercompression I call it, you might be getting into the 5th octave too, but it might start adding a bit of creaking. And I mean, I can control these things quite well because I've practiced them, but at a certain range, just it feels like my voice is doing things. I cannot control it anymore, so my voice starts to take charge. Yeah. I would say learn distortion and find out how high you can go.
I like that. I like that advice. And now I'm going to see how high I can take distortion, because I don't think I've ever experimented that. So here we go. How high can Greg take distortion? I think that I can take it as high as I can take my falsetto. That's going to be my thing. So I think that I can probably do it until A5, B5, but we'll see. So I'll start at F. That's a distortion. Ooh, it's a bad day. I'm hitting my wall. Oh, looks like for me, yeah. G? Okay, G sharp. A sloppy A5. I've never done this before. Yeah, seems like right around there's my limit. Because when I try to add my distortion, I lose the thing that is making my phonation. I think with practice, maybe I could learn to do this a bit better. Because I'm just, this is my first time, I think, really just trying to do that. But yeah, you can hear it just stops working up there. But also, that is my falsetto limit. You can hear a clear shift in my voice right there as I go like, you know, a little squeaky thing turn on. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. Yep. So I can't do the distortion very well once I reach that point. So for me, I'm kind of shifting to this new thing, and I can't do the distortion that high when I shift over at that point. So for me, I guess No, I would say G5. I would say that was the last one that I got, you know. Woo! Where I could actually do something. G5 for me.
I'm gonna try just with the hypercompressed technique because that's pretty quiet compared to, you know, twangy singing. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that was an F or something right now. But as you can hear,
yeah, it was.
as you can hear, there's a bit of extra noise, white noise coming in there, which would be creaking, and I could, just do the same thing louder and probably stand up and use a different vowel that, just allows for a more pure distortion sound, maybe even on a G or A flat 5. But the question is, when I actually sing a song with that, when I actually have to perform something and get it reliable, what am I going to do? Am I going to do distortion for the sake of distortion? Or am I going to do a cool, gritty sound at that note? And then if that's a cool, gritty sound, is it what's most intuitive for me, or is it something I specifically want? And both approaches are valid, but I have to decide, do I want just what comes out and then get that reliable and intuitive, or do I want specifically one thing? And then I might have to put in a bit of extra work because some things are not intuitive, like taking distortion super high without having anything else turn on.
Right. My thing disappeared, my stream. So, yeah, it still says I'm live. Okay, I guess it's good. Sorry, my chat disappeared, so I thought, oh no, did something happen? Oh yeah, it looks like we're good. Okay, sorry. So I gotta wrap it up, guys. So I got like 10 more minutes, and then I gotta take off. So any more questions? Oh, I guess there's some more there. What's the highest I've ever hit in chest voice? Haha. LOL. It's another one of those questions. I don't know because it's hard to tell without really measuring scientifically and doing some precise measurements. It's hard to tell with your ears where exactly your voice is switching from chest to M2. That's something that becomes a problem when you become an advanced singer. It's not a problem as a beginner. As a beginner, it's very clear. It's very clear when you shift, but when you get really good and you go it's like where did it happen? Because I never felt a change, right? I just felt highness. So I never felt like something's leaving. So I don't really know.
Yeah.
I can kind of
And I
guess.
think that actually, yeah. I think it depends on how you define chest or M1.
Course,
even like these seemingly well-defined terms, people have different opinions on what that means. And I think that actually relates well to Ben Gonzalez's question, which is how high can someone sing in mixed voice? Counter question: what is mixed voice? You might have well, it's not an easy question to answer. But what is your understanding of mixed voice? What sound has you going? Oh, nice mix. Because that's in the end what matters. If you don't know what a certain word means, don't use it, or redefine it for yourself so you know what it means, right? If you ask me what mixed voice is, me personally as a singer, how I describe it in my voice, I'd say it's something that feels more thinned out than full belting, or something that feels more connected than just my normal falsetto. And sometimes I have trouble telling even the falsetto and the mix apart, or the belting and the mix, because the mapping of the voice is not as detailed as reality is. So how high can I go with that? F5, G5, A5 on good days. Would other people call it mix? I don't know. Would they call it pulled chest? Would they call it reinforced falsetto? Would they call it a dying cat sound? All of those are valid terms for that. How high can you take that ugly, useless sound? B flat 5.
Right. I would say that in everybody's voice, eventually your chest voice is going to taper off, and it's going to sound lighter and lighter and lighter, and there is no way around that. You cannot have an infinite chest voice. So I would say that probably, if you were really to press me, I would say that my top note in chest voice is somewhere around E5. And if I were to just say, yeah, based off the sound and the feelings, and I would say that I think this is falsetto. Right? I would say I think that's falsetto. So when I feel my voice start to shift more in that direction, I would probably say, yeah, I think it's falsetto now. But it's on a spectrum, because if I do, like, at what point am I switching? Because they feel so, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like a click or a massive shift on. So for me, it's like, oh, I'm just kind of guessing, that's just, oh no.
Little interesting side point though. If you've been really, really aware of when the creaking started in that little Messa di Voce thing that Greg did, you might have noticed that there was a point when a bit of that raspiness turned on. And you could say, oh, this is an information I can use to determine what this coordination A that I call chest voice, and this other coordination B that I could call head voice. Well, handing each other over, because we know about creaking that it happens when there's a mismatch, when we're kind of in between of stable coordinations. So instead of being like, oh, I did unintentional creaking, I did an ugly sound, I don't want that in my pure nice mix. Take it as an information. Oh, there was creaking. That's probably the point where I got over to that other coordination.
Yeah.
Treat
point.
your voice as something playful, as an experiment, not as something beautiful. Other people will find it beautiful if it's honest, and if they like that genre, probably.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to make sounds that you didn't plan on doing, because it will actually help you on planning to do certain sounds.
Yeah, that's good. So, there was another one. Where did it go? I lost it. Fuck, man. Oh, what does neutral with high volume and high range sound like, and what effects can we use there? Okay, so in CVT there's neutral, which is just non-metallic, and that means both M1 and M2, actually, and M3. So I don't know about M0. I don't think so. But I don't know. But because I don't think they would consider neutral, but whatever. Anyway.
I guess they would call it creak, just like a creaky onset.
Right.
And that would technically be mechanism 0 pulse register.
Yeah, I don't think they would even say it's metallic, right? But okay. So anyway, the neutral, you have a lot of different neutrals, right? I can have neutral, 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 and whistle, which I can't do, but Toni could.
Yeah. Or you can have like a classical soprano sound, which is neutral too.
Yeah, exactly. So basically all of them are possible, but they're all gonna feel and behave differently depending on what kind of neutral you're doing. If I'm doing a very loud soprano one, I could probably do all of them. Growl, rattle, distortion. What else is there? Creaking. Creaking. So I could do all of them if it's a falsetto like that. Now, if it's a high chest voice neutral, that is a much harder task. So I'll try it on A. So this is my M1, and it's neutral. Well, actually, that might have been a tad metallic. See, it's hard for me to tell them apart, because the better you get, the more the lines become blurred. It's falsetto. It's a clear falsetto. The point at which I start to get chest voice, it doesn't really feel like I'm switching. It just kind of feels like louder. So it's hard. Anyway, just tying back into the other point. So let's see with this one. What can I do? Ha! 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 A growl in high neutral. A rattle. Let's say. Yeah, I would say that's neutral. Maybe a little bit of metal, but it's right around there. Creaking. Definitely possible. What else is there?
Splitting. It's kind of this weird Lala Hathaway alien sound.
That's cool.
Where you have several tones at the same time. That's possible in only neutral mode, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're relying on pushing air.
only works for me when I
And
wreck
see,
my voice.
yeah, and actually, seeing Greg fail like this is a good thing, for not only for me, but actually, for you guys watching, because Greg is an incredible singer. He can do all of these effects on command because he's learned them, and he hasn't learned splitting yet. What I call splitting, or what other people call, polyphonic alien voice or whatever. And he sucks at it, and he'll probably practice that when he wants that, and he'll get better at that. So, um, it's really good to think about singers not as talented or good or supernatural or something, but as people who make good decisions in learning, and
Yes.
to think of yourself as someone who can do something better and something else not as well,
Yeah.
and with both things being fluid. The thing that
Absolutely.
you can do well getting worse if you don't practice it, and the thing that you cannot do yet getting better if you just stay with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Really. Really well said. Yeah, I can't do distortion. I mean the splitting. I can't do the growls the way I want to up high. So I have holes and things that I just can't do yet. And the things I'm showing you right now, some of them are things that I recently figured out. Like I maybe like 6 months ago figured out how to do a metallic rattle in the low range, like because before I would hurt myself and I would cough and it would be like, oh man, this was a nightmare. Like I struggled with it, and I would hear Tony do it. I'd be like, what the heck? How are you guys doing that rattle? And then I figured out, oh, okay. It just kind of clicked. I practiced. I experimented. I treated my voice like it was, just my little toy, my plaything. I objectified myself a little. No, okay. And then I found my low rattle. And I'm still playing with my growl. How do I get my growl to go higher and sound the way I want? Because I want to, what was? What is that? I forget how the song goes, but I want to be able to take my growl up on those pitches in a context in song that sounds good. So I have things I struggle with that aren't, easy for me. So if I'm trying to, if I'm trying to just sit here, okay, getting the note after doing it a couple times, okay, yeah, I can do it on A, but can I do it in the song, right on command? No, I can't do it that high. I'm not that skilled with it. So we all have things we can learn and improve at, and it's just about having the right attitude and the right mindset to tackle those things. Okay, guys, but got to wrap up now. Got to go. Got to eat some food. Do some other stuff. So yeah, check out Tony's channel for more information about effects. I don't think I'm gonna make any videos about vocal effects. Maybe I will, but maybe not. I have other priorities for videos, but I am planning on now releasing videos weekly, so I have another one almost ready. So that's not really, again, the reason I have Tony on is this isn't really something that is my thing. I don't spend a lot of time talking about it or doing it very much, or teaching it. So if you guys are interested in the vocal effects, I would recommend it, Tony, as a teacher. If you guys are interested, you can also check out his YouTube channel. He's got a lot of some videos on distortion and all the other vocal effects you guys can watch. And also come to the Vocalist Chat Hub, the best place on the internet for singers to learn how to sing. It's a community of people where we basically we just talk about singing. We just share our singing. We mess around all the time. Tony and I are reading each other's messages and singing them back to each other. Like, we'll reply, on Facebook you can reply to a message and it'll be like if we sing something in the chat right here, like, Greg, you told me I'm doing something wrong because my voice fatigues after 15 minutes. My more specific question is why? So we just mess around, we have a good time. And there's a lot of learning going on, so it's a good place to be. It's free. Come join the community. Ooh,
Come join. It's free. Join the community. Yeah.
I love it. We should make
That rhymed.
It did. We should join a. We should make a theme song for the chat hub.
We totally should.
Like the we rule the world, or you know that Christmas song where it's like everybody.
Yeah.
What's that thing called?
We are the world.
Yeah.
It should totally have cheesy 80s glam synthes.
Yes,
I think.
It needs to.
And bad animations. I know who I'm gonna ask for those bad animations.
Yeah. All right, guys. See you guys later. Thanks so much, Tony. Going to
Thank you.
wrap it up. Alrighty. Well, I will drop Tony's YouTube channel, a link to it, in the description of this live stream once it goes out and I edit the video a little bit to cut out my technical stuff. All right, guys. Till next time. Bye, Tony. Thank you so much.
Have a nice day.